Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. We are gonna take this video and I'm gonna show you a couple of painting tips that I do. Um, Between the RF&P GP40s that I've been painting for Joseph Zeb, and I posted a couple pictures of these as well as the baggage car down there. And I've had a lot of people ask, how do I get the paint lines so crisp and so sharp? And I'm gonna show you how. It's pretty easy and doesn't take a whole lot of extra work or any special skill. First thing is you're going to need masking tape. Now this is our typical masking tape for home, and this is where I think a lot of people make their first mistake. I used this and I got a lot of bleeding, and I didn't matter what I did, it just didn't turn out great. And what I have discovered through talking to people, whatnot, and I've been using this for about the last year, and I've got a bunch of different sizes. This was a brand new roll, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce Tamiya, but this is model masking tape. It's very thin, but it's also pretty soft, and I'll explain that here in just a little bit. So what I like to do is have both this and this on hand. This stuff is expensive. I don't remember how much a roll, but it's like, $8, $9, $10 for a small roll. So I use this for all of my crisp lines, masking off things, and then I come back and cover up everything else with this, or this in paper if it's a lot of stuff. The first tip is break whatever it is down as best you can. In these cases, you can see these cars, the roofs come off. And then the next thing is just, look at your model and figure out what order the paint needs to go in. I don't do it a certain way every time because every model is a little different. As you can see, this car's got an orange band up top. This line is just a perfect separation point. And so I sprayed my blue all the way around, and really didn't care about the top part since this is getting going to be the orange. And also flipped it upside down, gave it 2 coats going this way because I wanted it to get down up under here. So the next thing is the actual tape part. And so I'm going to show you some tricks and tips that I do for that. Now before we go there, I'm going to show you a couple tools I'm going to use. This is one of my favorite, I call it a tape tool, but it's actually a computer spooge tool. It's used to pry computer parts. And as you can see, it's plastic. It's not hard, but it's not soft either. It's got a little bit of give to it, and it's got a nice point. And you actually can see it's actually got a little of a bend up where I've pushed down and bent it a little bit, which is actually really good. I started off with something like this, but it was a oak dowel that I put in the pencil sharpener and sharpened it down, not to a real sharp tip, but just to a point, so that when I go and press my tape down into there, I've got a really good point to push it. I also use this. This is another computer tool, so that's another spooge. It's really flat. It's not sharp. It's actually dull all the way around. It's not a knife by any means, but if I'm working the tape down into the ridges of a car or the doors on a locomotive, I like this, and I'll show you here in just a little bit because I can just push it down. It won't cut the tape, it pushes it down in there. Sometimes this is a little too fat to get down in there, and this does a really nice job. Also, hobby knife, X-Acto knife, whatever, just to trim off pieces. I've also got a pair of scissors over there. Most of the time I just tear the tape and let it go. And so I'm going to lay some tape down. I'm going to show you how I put it all together. Okay, we're back, and as you can see, I've pulled off about 5-6 inches of tape. I don't like to use really big long piece of tape because that's just getting yourself into trouble because it's really hard to control. And so typically I'll do 2 or 3 pieces of tape on a project like this, and layer them and work them over. Now as you can see, the tape where I've pushed down a little bit is darker because it's touching the blue, and it's lighter here. So what I'm going to do is use my little tool, and as you can see, it starts getting darker, and that means I've got really good adhesion, and I'm not going to get any bleed through there. And so I just push it up and work it back and forth, and very slowly, and I'm not applying a whole lot of pressure because I don't want to tear the tape. And then just come back, work it, just check all of my, it's kind of hard to hold the camera and do this, but I'm not really worried about down here because I've got enough tape touching up here. This is gonna, and then I'll come back and overlap a piece of tape and then come down here and then do one more. So let me do that, and we'll come back and take a look at it and see what it looks like that way. Okay, so as you can see, I've got the whole car masked off. I've come back with my little tool here and press the tape really nice and tight. I don't see any white space, airspace, I don't know what you want to call it, between it and the car body. So I know I've got a really good line here. If I was just painting this as a stripe and I wanted to make sure that I didn't get any paint seepage up, what I would do is come back and here we go, and I would take my tool and just work very slowly and carefully down in the groove. And as you can see, this tape is soft enough where it will just go down in there. I know a lot of people say, oh, you just use your finger. Well, your finger really can't get down into these tight grooves. I don't like using a fingernail because it can cut the tape and you may not even know it. Have I cut the tape doing this? Yeah, but I know it and I can feel when it happens. So I know to go back and correct that. I'm not really going to, I'm just going to cover this up with tape. I'm just showing you what it would look like. And so you can see how it changes color, and I know I've got a really good seam, and if it don't, it'll show, and you almost come back in color. And here you can just use your that, or for something this big I might take a paper towel and just rub. Now you can see I've got my top part, and then I can come back and fix that. But I really don't need to. This is all going to get covered over here in just a second. It's actually going to look just like this, which I've already done this side. The ends, as you can see, the door is going to become orange. So I've masked off around it, and I've done the same type thing on either side. Use the tool to get in there. This side is done as well. So this one's almost ready for some paint. Just going to take one long piece of the big wide tape and run it here, and then run up under, and it'll be ready. Alright, so here we are, and as you can see, the tire piece is masked off. It's got a light coat of, this is the paint I like to work with. It is the Scale Coat 2 by Weaver. I get this stuff online. Not cheap, but works really, really well. And here, another tip, this thing will probably get 3 to 4 light coats of the paint. Not, one big heavy coat or even 2 big heavy coats. On the previous cars, it took 4 light coats of the orange, so that it was a nice solid looking color. You couldn't see some of the blue underneath or whatnot. It takes a little bit longer, but you get a much better result in the end. If you go with the heavy paint to start with, excuse me, that's where you get runs, you get puddles, you can get cracking and whatnot. So you got to be careful with that. Also, you want to make sure that you don't get the nozzle too close to the model. I personally was guilty of it. I would put the nozzle, 2 or 3 inches right up against it, you know, trying to get the paint close so it wouldn't spray off. But you know, that or there again, you can't have a light coat when you're that close. And I got runs, and yeah, didn't turn out. So I learned, I made a lot of mistakes along the way as well. So this will probably take me a couple hours to get all of the light coats of paint on it and done. Actually, there's the roof over there. While after I got this one painted, I masked the roof off and painted it white, so it's got a coat of paint. Another tip that I'd like to do, I try to have a couple of things to paint at the same time, so that I've got my tape out, I've got all my tools out, and the paint out all at the same time. And so I've got this and this, and I've actually got a couple pieces that I finished painting up last night that I'll go back and work on and start assembling and put stuff together while these dry, and while I give these second, third, fourth coats of paint. So another tip is just I try to stagger stuff, so I've always got something to work on, so I'm not sitting around twiddling my thumbs, getting myself in trouble. And then something else I do is I've already got a timer on my phone here, and it's set for 20 minutes. It's about 80 degrees, no humidity today, perfect, very light wind, perfect for painting. And so in 20 minutes the alarm will go off, and I'll come back out, give it another coat of paint, reset my alarm, go work on something for 20 minutes. So that way I don't shoot the paint too early, or you know, waste an hour getting involved in something else and slow this project down. So as you saw, there's a couple pictures of the cars from yesterday, and these, hopefully the decals will come in today, and I can start applying those and whatnot and getting those ready, put the windows in and get it to go. So and while I'm on that, what you want to do is well, you know what, let me just stop and I'll go inside. Hold on just one second. Okay, so we're back inside, and here are 2 cars, and as you can see, there's no windows in them. The roof, I haven't attached the roof yet or anything like that. These cars are waiting on decals, which should arrive today. Another tip, don't put any windows in until you get your decals on and clear coated. Another mistake I made was I got so excited to put the car together, got the interior in, put the windows in, and then put the decals on and then clear coated. And when the clear coat got on the windows, it marred up the windows. And so I learned my lesson there. And it's actually easier, I think it's easier to do decals when you've got the car a little bit lighter, a little bit easier. It's easier to work with. So the decals will go on, and then I'll clear coat it, and probably give it 2 coats of clear, let it dry overnight, and then start putting the windows in, reassembly and whatnot. This car is going to have a decal here. It's going to have one at either end, and then actually it's going to have yeah, it will have a decal across this lip as well. And so what I'll do is just mask off this part with some tape to spray my clear coat, just because I want the clear coat just on this. I'm not really concerned about this getting clear coat. But yeah, that's how I do it. Pretty simple, pretty easy.